Hello and welcome to the ARCA Menards Series Rewind Show. I'm Garth Allen. This is Racing News Now, and today we're talking about the ARCA Menards Series East 2021 stop at the Dover International Speedway, the General Tire 125. And yes, while one driver did lead every lap in this race, it wasn't the snooze fest you would expect it to be for a race like that. So let's talk about that now. If you haven't already though, go down below, hit that subscribe button for me. It is free to do. The quicker we get to 1,000 subscribers, the quicker YouTube will let us do mobile live streaming, which will vastly improve the quality and quantity of coverage we're able to give you at the track. We will be back at the track this coming weekend at Toledo for the ARCA Menards Series annual stop at the Toledo Speedway. So if you can get us to 1,000 subscribers before then, we'll give you some mobile live streams from that race at Toledo. Help us out with that. So let's talk about the General Tire 125 laps around the 1 mile concrete oval in Dover, Delaware. It was, like I said, one driver did lead every lap in this race, but there was a lot happening in this race. Specifically, General Tire's not really holding up to the track surface. We've had a little bit of tire issues in the past in this race. Notably, last year Ty Gibbs had a tire issue which took him out of contention for the win in this race. This year, we had a lot more than one isolated incident. It was the entire race. ARCA had to add a couple extra competition cautions into this race to try and keep from having more tire issues than what we were having, because it really, these tires didn't seem like they could go more than 30, 40 laps tops before you blew a right front tire, and that was continually the trend as we continued through this race. We had multiple drivers with right front tire issues, including some of the fastest cars in the field. So let's look at your caution report for this race. 7 caution flags for a total of 35 laps. Very caution-filled race, as we mentioned. First caution came at lap 16 as the 10 of Ed Pompa spun in turns 3 and 4. That would be the first caution of the day. The leaders really had to scatter as he went around as they were lapping him at the time. The leader at the time was passing him as Pompa got loose in turn 3 and spun up the track. And then, of course, all the leaders behind had to check up and go every which way to avoid the spinning Ed Pompa. Luckily, no one else got collected in this incident. Lap 25, we had our first caution for a tire incident of the day, and it was from Drew Dollar, who was running in second at the time, straight into the wall off turn 2. Hard hit for Drew Dollar. Luckily, he was okay. Then we had our first break of the day, 10 laps later at lap number 36. So no more tire incidents before the first break, but they wouldn't be done for the day. Second caution came at lap 61, about 20 laps after we went back green from the first break. Justin Carroll blows a right front tire hard into the outside wall off of turn 4, comes to a rest just before the start-finish line on the front stretch. Lap 75, Raja Caruth blows a right front tire on the back stretch. Most of this race, Raja Caruth was the fastest car on the track, setting times faster than anyone else on this track. He'd have issues on restarts, which would set him back a couple of spots, but as soon as he got into a rhythm, a lap or two into a run, he was flying through this field and unfortunately was never able to get to the lead. But Raja Caruth showed today that he has speed and he will be a force to be reckoned with as we go further into this season. Unfortunately, was not able to finish off the day. Lap 84, Mason Diaz, Max Gutierrez get together off of turn 4. Diaz gets loose on the inside, actually comes up, makes contact with Gutierrez, which shoves Gutierrez into the outside wall. As the cars behind them try to avoid them, Connor Mozak hooks a left into Kyle Sieg. Kyle Sieg bounces off of Mozak's door into the inside wall. Not a tire issue, the only caution on the day that wasn't a brake or a tire issue, but nonetheless, Kyle Sieg would be done for the day and unfortunately did not make it to the end of the race. Final break of the day came at lap 103. This was actually an extra break that was added because of all of the tire issues, and luckily it seemed to get us to the end of the race without another tire issue. Let's talk about the guy that led every lap in this race. And I know if you have seen the entry list for this race, you probably have a good idea who this is, because it's not the first time he's gone out and led every lap in an ARCA Menards Series race this season. It is the driver of the 18 car. No, not Sammy Smith. This is an East race. but it was not Sammy Smith. Sammy Smith was in the 81 car today because Ty Gibbs was in this race. Ty Gibbs went out and led every lap in this race and got redemption for last year's tire issue at this track. Goes out and tames Miles the Monster. Just because he led every lap doesn't mean he ran away with this race. While it did seem like he pretty much had the best car on the day, he never really drove away from anybody. Now, that could have been because he was really saving his stuff and going easy on it, trying not to have a tire issue, but he never got out to more than a second or so of a lead. He never really gapped the second place car at all very much in this race. I'm not sure if that was him just saving his stuff, going easy on it, and he could have been a lot faster than that because his pole time that he put down in the combined practice qualifying session was over half a second faster than anyone else in this field. So there may have been a lot more in this car that he wasn't showing in this race. That being said, he never did get out to much of a lead. And there were cars like Josh Berry, Sammy Smith, Rajah Caruth who were consistently putting down better lap times than Ty Gibbs. So maybe he was just pushing just enough to keep a lead throughout this whole race and just saving his stuff, which I will give him credit because I have been critical of Ty in the past for going out and giving 110% every time and pushing too hard and using up his stuff. It seems like Ty has really matured over the past year or so in terms of his driving skills and really understands how to save his equipment now, which is not something I would have said about him a year ago. So kudos to Ty Gibbs as he really does seem to be maturing in the driving skill department. Josh Berry pulling triple duty this weekend, driving the Bruce Cook number 41 car that we've seen Carson Kvapil pilot for the first 3 races of this season. Came home in second, gave Ty Gibbs a really strong run at the end of this race, made contact on the last restart trying to take that lead, and unfortunately was still not able to do it. Ty Gibbs just still drove away from him, and Josh Berry came home with a second place finish. David Gilliland in the 17 car, filling in for the injured Taylor Gray, came home in third. Sammy Smith was all over the place today. Had a right front tire go down at one point. Did not get a caution from that. It was a couple laps before the first break at lap 35. Limped the car around until that caution. Came down, fixed the damage, ended up 2 or 3 laps down. Got all of his laps back and drove back to 4th at the end of the race with a damaged car. That damage had been mostly fixed, but there was still tape and all that stuff on the right front. So kudos to Sammy Smith for still being able to drive back around and being the highest finishing East regular in this race. He didn't lose any points to anybody today, and he very easily could have. Coming into this race as the points leader, no one in front of him has started more than 1 race so far this season in the East Series. Sammy Smith still extended his points lead today. Great job to Sammy Smith. That was incredible. Max Gutierrez, his first top 5 finish since February. He won at New Smyrna, and then it's been a little rocky since New Smyrna, but good to see him turn it around today with a top 5 finish. Rest of your top 10, Daniel Dye had a very long day. He was the first of the tire failures today, blew a right front in practice, and it was pretty much downhill for most of the day from there. Was able to salvage the day with a 6th place finish. Connor Mozak, his first career ARCA Menards Series start in the O2 for Young's Motorsports, came home in 7th. Joey East, his first race outside the top 5 this season, came home in 8th. Was as high as 2nd at one point in the race though, so it's not like he was slow today. He had a good race, unfortunately just kind of fell back at the end of the race and ended up at 8th. Jade Buford making his first ARCA East start this season in the 11 for Fast Track, came home in 9th, and Ed Pompa, even after his early spin, came home in the 10th position. Final page 11 through 18th, Mason Diaz. Just a bad day all around for Mason Diaz. That car, so ill handling. I'm really surprised he was able to hang on to it all day. Unfortunately, ended up having to park the car early near the end of the race, 7 laps before the end of the race because of overheating issues. Just not a great day for Mason Diaz. I'm sure he just wants to get out of Dover and move on to the next East race. Parker Retzlaff, 12 laps off the pace at the end of this one. He had some major issues late in the race as well. Came home in the 12th position. Kyle Sieg landed in 13th after his wreck. Rajah Caruth 14th. Again, fastest car on the track for most of the early portions of the race, and unfortunately not able to make it to the end to possibly contend for the win. Drew Dollar, after his wreck, landed 16th. And you see Jesse Love down here in 18th, making a start in the 25 for Venturini Motorsports. Had some mechanical issues. You could tell early on in the day that he was just not his typical self. I believe he started 10th on the day, just very slow in the combined practice qualifying session, just seemed very off for Jesse Love. And then just really didn't have any speed in the race either, only made it 20 laps before parking it with those engine issues. Not the day Jesse Love was looking for in Dover. Hopefully he'll be able to rebound as we go forward through the season. That's your results from the General Tire 125. Working on getting a couple interviews for you this week, so when and if those happen, make sure you're subscribed and your notifications are turned on so you know exactly when those come out, and you're able to hear thoughts from a few different people from this race. Like I said, we're working on some different ones. Not sure if we're going to get Ty Gibbs this time or not. I mean, as many times as it seems like he's going to win this season, don't want to overload you with a Ty Gibbs interview every single time it happens unless we're at the track. So working on getting some other thoughts from other drivers that did well in this race. We'll let you know what comes of that, though. Now, let's take a look at your point standings following the General Tire 125. 4 races into the ARCA Menards Series East season for 2021. Halfway through this season, and Sammy Smith, like we mentioned, highest finishing ARCA East regular in this race, so still extends his points lead even after the troubles he went through on the day. 22 points is now his lead over Mason Diaz. Max Gutierrez has almost overtaken Mason Diaz for that second spot. Now 23 points back for Max Gutierrez in third, 28 back for Joey East in fourth, and Daniel Dye minus 33 in fifth. He leapfrogged over Parker Retzlaff with Raja Caruth. Raja came into this race fifth in points. He and Daniel Dye swapped spots there, with Parker Retzlaff staying stationary in the 6th position. Dick Doheny bounces up to the 8th spot since Carson Quapple was not in this race, and Taylor Gray still holding on to a top 10 spot there in 10th after having not started the last couple of races. Still not sure when he's going to be back in that 17 car. Hopefully we see him back sooner rather than later. That's your point standings following the General Tire 125, and I believe that'll do it for us on this ARCA Rewind show. iRacing coming up on Tuesday as usual. Not 100% sure if we'll have a driver this week or not. May still be an AI race. Still have a couple races left in that AI season. So come on out, 8 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday for the iRacing fun this week. And then we will be at Toledo on Saturday. Always a fun time at Toledo. Great track, and we'll definitely give you all the coverage that we can from that race. If we can get to 1,000 subscribers before then, we'll give you even more coverage with the mobile live streams, but we got to get to 1,000 subscribers first, otherwise YouTube won't let us do it. So hopefully we're able to get to that point before then, but we got a little bit to go. Just shy of 150 more subscribers to get to that point. So that's a lot to get here in about a week, but I think we can do it. So hopefully we're able to hit that point by Toledo, and I'm able to give you those mobile live streams from the track. So, but I think that's going to do it for us. So thank you as always to our Patreon supporter, Regional Manager William Holmes. Thank you as always for your support. It's always greatly appreciated. If you would like to be a patron of RNN, the link's down below in the description, patreon.com/racingnewsnow. Not required by any means, but it really is greatly appreciated when you want to support RNN in that way. But that's going to do it for this ARCA Menards Series Rewind show. So at that, I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now. Notably, last year, Tyre Gibbs.